Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley here, Vegas favorite right now. Simple, sexy, chic. And election day over there, man.
Marcellus, I just tried to embody the country right now.
Oh, really?
Election climate. So I'm dressed in my election attire.
Unlike the election, these swag wars, not that close. All right, let's get it started in New England, where the Patriots have a disappointing 2-5 record and are on a 4-game losing streak. Oof. Cam Newton has personally been struggling as well while playing on a 1-year deal. Bill Belichick brought up the Patriots salary cap issues earlier this week and said, quote, "This year we had less to work with. It's not an excuse, it's just a fact." You hear that, Acho? So did the Patriots set Cam up to fail this season? Emmanuel Acho.
No, Marcellus, they didn't. And I am a Cam Newton apologist like you, sir.
Yes, we are.
And as I look over my shoulder, he ain't looking at me today on the board.
He ain't looking at nobody right now.
He ain't looking at me today. Last week he had me scared. Now I'm going to say it with my chest.
Okay.
They didn't set him up to fail, Marcellus, because Cam Newton is actually who we thought he was. Unfortunately, that's a quarterback that's never really been an above average or adequate passer, but a quarterback that can still make plays with his feet. The problem is now you go to New England and they've actually set him up to succeed. He just still hasn't. Marcellus, let me put it to you like this. Cam Newton passed for 25 times in a game, 25 times in another game, 15 times in another game, 19 times in another game. That, if you're a quarterback, is not setting you up for failure. We're not even asking you to do the one thing that quarterbacks across this league are asked to do: throw the ball a lot of times and try to win games. Patriots didn't even ask Cam Newton to win games, Marcellus. All they said was, Cam Newton, please, please, please.
Don't say it.
Do not lose us games. Marcellus, when you go somewhere, when you go to the casino and somebody lends you some money.
Stay out the casino?
No, I can't, and I won't.
How you don't drink, but you gamble your life away?
You have to have a vice. Everybody has a vice.
That's your
Gambling
vice?
is my vice. That's my vice.
Oh, okay.
My vice, okay? I wasn't that dude. I didn't have that dude money. I had casino money.
You know why you didn't have my money?
Why?
You gambled it all away.
Whatever, Sam. Let me get to my point.
Goodness.
When you're playing with somebody else's money, it's called, when you're playing with the casino's money, it's called playing with house money.
I heard of it.
Cam Newton is playing with house money in New England. He goes to New England, and we're all like, oh, Cam, yay, Cam, he got picked up. You, yay, Cam, he got picked up. Me, yay, Cam, he got picked up. Cam Newton can do no wrong. He was playing with house money, but Sal, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
That's yucky.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
So, no, they didn't put him in a position to fail. Cam Newton, he just kind of has failed on his own.
Look, okay. I can't push back too much. They didn't set him up to fail because he was taken to a team. He chose a team with limited options, if no options.
Fair.
And that was a 12-4 playoff team.
Absolutely.
With a home playoff game.
Absolutely.
So let's not act like this was an entirely empty cupboard.
Where you go? I'm interested in this tape.
All right, so
I'm interested.
Look, today we're talking about society at large. Obviously, when you look at it, you can't blame others for your disappointments. You can't always blame your circumstances for your setbacks. So Cam Newton has to look in the mirror as well. But blasphemy for you to say that this guy is not an adequate passer. Has he ever won an MVP? I wonder if you could ever win an MVP as a quarterback by rushing your way to that title. Oh, no, you can't. He won 15 out of 16 games in the regular season that year. So Cam Newton has shown before that he's an adequate passer. Let's not forget that he's completing this year 66% of his passes. What does that mean to him? Oh, for a guy who's a career 59% passer, oh, he's having an above-average year in terms of accuracy. Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Because he comes to a situation that was bad, but not impossible to win with. When Cam Newton started this season, first 2 games, took care of the football, what happened to the New England Patriots? Oh, they actually find themselves in winning situations. When Cam Newton became a turnover machine, all of a sudden it became a problem. But that's not a New England Patriots problem. That's a Cam Newton problem that is fixable, because Cam Newton is not a guy that is known typically as a turnover machine. So Cam Newton can fix his own problems, and then he will look at his situation quite differently. I look at this situation like a little split. One, it was so bad that Tom Brady left. Tom Brady said, this was a dynasty. Now I need to go and create another one somewhere else because there's no one left here to play with. Look at the weapons that Cam Newton had to play with on Sunday. The 6 wide receivers available. This is kind of up your Carson Wentz lane sleeve. You ready for this? All 6 of them were undrafted free agents. Worse than you, Acho. Like, you were 6th rounder, right? Like, after that round, and then after that, them dudes like, hey, they call you? Oh, no, that's my homeboy. Hey, they call you? No, that's your girlfriend. Undrafted free agents, he had to throw to 6 of them. Demir Bird. Who's that? Jacoby and Myers, the law firm. Gunner. We already know when your name's Gunner, you ain't gonna be that good. Isaiah Zuber, Mason Kinsey, Christian Wilkerson. My point being...
I don't know your point.
My point being is Cam Newton is trying to make something out of little. Not nothing, an opportunity, trying to make something out of it. But this opportunity, let's be real about it, Tom Brady departed it because it wasn't going to be that great. Cam Newton is realizing that in this moment as
Marcellus, I'm about to undress your argument one button at a time. Let me start with the MVP argument. Excellent. The reason Marcellus that Cam Newton won the MVP in 2015, not because he was a prolific passer.
I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
I didn't say that. I'm just telling you, it's not because he was a prolific passer. His completion percentage was 59%
I said
year.
that.
You did.
Okay.
I just want to put it in context. Baker Mayfield's completion percentage was 59% last year. The reason Cam Newton won the MVP that season over the likes of Russell Wilson is because Cam Newton had 10 rushing touchdowns that season. So your rushing ability can propel you to winning an MVP. Now, that's the first button I just popped off. Let me get to that second button.
You ain't need no help popping my buttons.
Let me get to that second button.
I need help.
Cam Newton, Marcellus, no, he doesn't have a lot of help. But you sat here and we've critiqued, like you said, the Carson Wentz argument. We've critiqued other quarterbacks for not having help. Carson Wentz is doing a lot with his minimal help.
Different.
Travis Fulgham, he was a 6th-round pick. He's currently the NFL leading receiver in the last since week 4, the last 4 weeks, because of Carson Wentz. So don't tell me about, Cam Newton doesn't have help.
I will retort.
Now, that's that second button. Let me get to that third button, okay? Let me get to the chest hairs. Let me get to the
taco
chest hairs.
The taco meat?
The real issue at hand is very simple.
What?
Cam Newton in 7 seasons has had a completion percentage under 60%. 60% is just a qualification of being adequate in the NFL. Marcellus, I couldn't find any other quarterbacks in the last decade with such horrendous statistics, but there are 4 other quarterbacks that have had 3 seasons of a completion percentage that low. Andy Dalton, Blake Bortles, Colin Kaepernick, and there is Joe Flacco. He had 2 seasons of such. Cam Newton is in terrible company. My last point on this lap is very simple. I love Cam Newton, but I'm a realist. You love Cam Newton, you're not a realist. Let me get to this. Cam Newton, 10 seasons, 3 winning seasons, 7 losing seasons. Cam is who Cam is. The great times are great, but the bad times are bad, and right now it's a bad time. Sal, if the Patriots were telling Cam Newton, hey, you got to go out there and throw the ball 40 times a game, 50 times a game, I would say they're setting him up for failure. But they're saying, hey, we're going to let you run the ball more than you've ever run the ball in your career. Over 9 rushing attempts a game. They're saying, hey, Cam, we're not even really going to ask you to play quarterback like we traditionally know it to be played. We're going to let you do what you do best, and you're still not doing that very well. I love Cam, and it hurts me to say this, but Marcellus is facts over feelings. You told me that day 1.
Okay, well, here's a fact. You left some buttons still up here for me. And
I'm gonna get to
all
those
you
later.
did was show more of my sexy. Now you're in trouble because I'm going to look better and sound better than you. Cam Newton, you say he's not a prolific passer.
No, sir.
He threw for 35 touchdowns in that MVP year. Is that prolific? Or is that
Depends
good?
on the interception.
10, only 10. Kind of good. With 59% completion percentage, which is not good. It's
terrible. It's
which
bad.
makes me go back to my first point, which is this year he's completing 66% of his passes. Why he's not Carson Wentz, why he's not in the trash juice like Carson Wentz is, simply because Carson Wentz has a worse completion percentage, 58, which has nothing to do with the weapons around you. And second of all, decision-making. Cam Newton is not making the same bad decisions Carson Wentz is. He's just losing the football or throwing it away.
Let me talk to you. If Carson Wentz's trash juice, the juice at the bottom of the bag.
The bottom, that green,
no
orange,
question, it's the worst kind. It's the worst kind, except, you know when you take the trash out of the container and the juice starts to drip on the floor? Because you got a hole in the bag? That's Cam Newton.
Oh, really?
Right now. If Carson Wentz's trash juice in the bag, Cam Newton is the trash juice that's on the floor in the kitchen that you got to go mop up. Let me tell you why, Sal. Please.
Get off my analogy.
Carson Wentz at least has 17 touchdowns. I'm not going to make this conversation about Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz has a whole bunch of bad. But then let's talk about Cam. Cam has 2 passing touchdowns, Marcellus. 2.
That's horrible.
Jarvis Landry has 1.
That's
a receiver. Cam has 2. So Cam only has 6 rushing touchdowns. Cam has 8 touchdowns on the season and his bottom 5 in turnovers. My God.
But can you stop that? Because right now he is having a career year in terms of rushing the football. In terms of 49 rush yards per game, that's career best for MVP. That's saying a lot. Let's also talk about the fact that he is accurate with the football. That's saying a lot. We're talking about the Patriots. Did they set him up to fail? You want to go Carson Wentz versus Cam Newton, you're still going to lose that argument. But I'm trying to stay on the rails right here and talk about the Patriots. We're talking about a quarterback who went to a situation that every single evaluator would say, that's not a good situation in terms of talent, in terms of offensive production, and in terms of weapons. Tom Brady left, and Cam Newton comes in because he had no options, but it still wasn't a situation where he was set up to fail because when he protected the football, first 2 games, 71 completion percentage, they 1-1 in terms of touchdown interception, so you weren't turning it over like you have the last 4 games, 337 yards per game, 97 quarterback rating, which is right there with Phillip Rivers, who's a 5-2 quarterback. All Cam has to do with this roster is kind of to your point. Don't turn the ball over.
And he's not doing that.
But he's not doing that now. He did that early in the season, then COVID wrecked him. I don't know. Has he recovered? Was the quarantine long enough? Let me stop. Here's the point. This situation, I'm trying to extract the individual from the circumstance. The circumstance wasn't failing, but is the D a fail? Like, it's little to no progress. Remember the report cards? F was failing.
No question.
D's little to no progress. This was a D situation that Tom Brady couldn't allow it to stain his resume, but Cam Newton didn't have the same options, so he had to go to a D situation.
Bro, think about Tom Brady's highest targeted receivers in the playoffs. Rex Burkhead, a running back, 30 years old. James White, a running back. And Ben Watson, a 38-year-old tight end. It's not as though Tom Brady had a plethora of weapons. Tom Brady, what was it, 12-4 and into the playoffs. Cam Newton has the same team. That's what I need people to realize.
He has opt-outs. He has retirement. Can you stop with that? You act like it didn't affect this team more than any other team.
Let's talk about this.
Can you be real about that?
It did affect the team, and I said it's affected the team.
The politicians make you talk.
I said it's affected the team.
Good.
But let's be real with the fact that the Patriots have the 12th scoring defense, 12th best scoring defense, but they're giving up 7 points a game off turnovers, 4th worst in the NFL.
Yeah, that's bad.
So if Cam Newton, not the Patriots, I'm not even going to globalize this. I'm going to talk central. I'm going to talk micro. If Cam Newton wasn't turning the ball over as much, their defense would be better.
Yes.
So if their defense is better, everything would work better.
Right.
The reason the Patriots are 2-4, 2-5 is Cam Newton. It's not even, we don't have to look anywhere else. We don't have to look at Belichick. Don't have to look at the opt-out boys. It's not because Hightower's not there. It's not because Chung's not there. It's Cam Newton.
Well, he doesn't have any wiggle room. Let's be real about that. So going to a close to failing situation, but not exactly a failing circumstance, you have little to no wiggle room. And he's realized that the first 2 games, he didn't need all of the extra help that they do have defensively and in terms of their special teams prowess. And he took care of the football, and they won. Cam Newton in the first couple of games was better than what we're seeing out of Phillip Rivers, was better than what we're seeing out of Fitzpatrick, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, and others in terms of passer rating, in terms of how he was evaluated. What happened after the COVID was the dude just start letting the ball go. Is that fixable? More so than bad decisions and more so than a guy who's not accurate. At least he's accurate and is making good decisions, not great.
Here's the problem. When you start to look at Cam Newton now, and this pains me to say, but it's the reality of the situation, he is 2-12 in his last 14 starts.
Okay.
He's 2-12. This isn't, Marcellus, a problem that's new. It's not like, oh, Cam Newton got to New England and all of a sudden Cam Newton isn't very productive.
Oh, we're going to do this.
I'm saying it's not the case. He's had 3 winning seasons. And I love Cam. I loved him at Auburn when he upset Alabama, when he was surprised. That's when I fell in love with Cam.
The Bucs statement.
But of course, several buts. Capital B. I like, just because I'm infatuated with Cam Newton, the person, the style, the charisma, the swagger, the hair, I love all that. But that's not going to separate me from the fact of on the field sell 3 winning seasons. So who are we going to blame? Ron Rivera in the years past? Were they at fault? Were the Panthers at fault? Was everybody else at fault during the previous losing season?
Well, you said the last, what'd you say?
12 last 14 games? Starts.
14 starts. Injured. MVP candidate again, 6-2, career high completion percentage. Came back injury, played through the injury. Now in a situation he's playing through, there's not much around in terms of weapons. You want to know the names again? Jacoby and Myers. So the point is, Cam Newton has been dealt a bad hand, Vegas man, and he's sitting there like, I already got my money down. So I have to play it. That's the situation.
Here's what I won't allow you to do on national
television. You allow me to do what, homie?
I won't allow you to say that Cam Newton got hurt, played through it, and has been dealt a bad hand.
Yes, I've done that.
But he should still have this opportunity. But Carson Wentz, the exact same situation, got hurt, played through it, has been dealt a bad hand,
is he hurt
and
now?
all of a sudden he's terrible.
Is he hurt now?
Is Cam Newton hurt now?
No.
That's my point.
No, your point is wrong. I keep telling you, the difference between Cam Newton and Carson Wentz, why I attack Carson Wentz, and I give a little pass to Cam Newton, is because decision-making and accuracy, those are difficult to fix. Has Carson Wentz fixed his, well, we getting off the rails. Has he fixed his decision-making? Has he fixed his accuracy? He is at 58.4%.
I don't care about the percentage.
Stop with
Cam Newton is 4 times as likely to throw the ball to the other team as he is to throw the ball to his team in the end zone.
Yes.
He is 4 times as likely to throw the ball to the other team.
In a new system that he didn't learn properly because he was picked up June 28th with COVID.
Justin Herbert.
Oh, that's great for them. And I'm not saying that, look, they're playing better than them, but they're also playing better than Carson Wentz and Cam Newton. Cam Newton's in the situation, stop turning the ball over. Is the quick fix? Here's the medicine. Stop turning the ball over, you'll win more games.
Here's what I will say.
You're not a sorry quarterback.
You can turn the ball over to them once, but at least give me touchdowns twice. You can turn the ball over twice.
Rushing.
Give me touchdowns
He does
times.
rushing. They still count.
Cam Newton has 6 rushing touchdowns. Carson Wentz has 5.
What does that have to do with anything?
You just said rushing touchdowns. Cam Newton, if you're going to give me rushing touchdowns, Cam, I need more.
Yeah.
If all you're going to
Cam is not turning the ball over 4 times in a game and then say, I'm going to grab you out of a hole.
If all you're going to do for Cam, if all Cam Newton is going to do for us is give us 6 rushing touchdowns, then I need more passing. Give me 12 rushing touchdowns then.
Hey, you talking to Josh McDaniels right now, big dog, because the situation is he doesn't know this system as well as needed. You talk about everybody else in that Carson Wentz's continuity. When you talk about these rookie guys, guess what? Good situations, better players, playing better. Maybe all of that is true. But a former MVP shouldn't get this level of disrespect. A guy who played through injury and still was an MVP candidate should get this level of disrespect. And a guy who just came off the streets because he had no options should get this level of disrespect because he started this season off changing even your expectations of the Patriots.
That's true. First 2 games he did.
That's all I'm saying. So he can go back to that.
Bro, we can't allow what somebody did 5 or 10 years ago to grant them a pass at their current present day.
How about 5 weeks ago?
I guess the Seahawks.
5 weeks, first two games. Remember them? Remember them?
He completed 15 passes.
He
just didn't lose. Marcellus. The Patriots held the Dolphins to 11 points. Yeah. You're not going to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Cam couldn't lose week 1.
And that's my point.
He couldn't lose week 1.
We agree this is not a failing situation, but do we also agree this is not the situation where you go where it's so well cultivated that you're going to blossom? Is it there? Is it there? If it was there, why did Brady leave?
But I'm not mad at Cam.
Come on, man.
I'm not mad at Cam for not blossoming. I'm mad at Cam for dying. And there's a difference.
He's not dying.
2 touchdowns, 6 picks. No, not even 6 picks. Excuse me. My correction.
More than that.
2 touchdowns, 7 picks.
Yeah,
like, that is dying. Marcellus, two touchdowns?
Yes.
And 6 starts?
Yes, but
how is that possible?
You know why? Because if you're you know how coaches think with their ego and the evaluators. They're sitting there saying, hey, man, Cam Newton has no weapons at all. We're really trotting out Julian Edelman like he's the dude, and we're trotting out N'Keal Harry, who Tom Brady took a look at and said, I'm good, first round or not. Let me finish this. Go ahead, if you're Cam Newton, your saving grace literally is your completion percentage. Why? Because if I put you in a situation with better weapons, you're going to be as accurate, if not more accurate. Everything else, the interceptions, guys are not open. I'm trying to throw you open. Bad decision-making, he's not a victim of that. He is completing the football, and he's still a tremendous talent that could give you 2 dimensions at the quarterback position. That's his saving grace. Not his numbers with a team with no weapons.
Here's the only place I will push back on that is very simply.
Come on.
Quarterbacks can help enhance their receivers. We see that with Russell Wilson. Tyler Lockett was not supposed to be a beast. He had 200 yards receiving just 2 weeks ago. DK Metcalf was really not supposed to be all that good. I watched him in college, and he fell. He is now looking like the best receiver in the NFL. Scotty Miller, the slot receiver for the Bucs. 6th-round pick from, Bowling Green.
Right.
But he's the team's leading receiver. Julian Edelman, wasn't he a 7th-round pick at quarterback? Yeah. But he's a Super Bowl MVP. The quarterbacks have elevated their level of play. I'm not going to say the name, but number 11 for the Philadelphia Eagles. He currently has a 6th-round pick that was on scout team last year as the leading receiver in the NFL for the last 4 weeks. Your quarterback can elevate the talent around you. So rather than looking at Cam Newton and saying he has no talent around him, why don't we look at Cam Newton and say, wait a second, why isn't he elevating the talent around him? As minimal as it is, why isn't he at least making it maximal?
Oh, It's interesting that Cam Newton, in 6 weeks of playing in this system, most complicated offensive system, they say, and we're comparing him to a guy who's in his 5th season and has continuity in that system. And Carson Wentz is still struggling, and other guys are still struggling. You're asking a lot of Cam Newton. He hit the ground running maybe too fast. Reset your expectations, changed our imagination about what the New England Patriots were supposed to be. But let's not forget where it all started, because Grandma said the way you go in, baby, is the way you're coming out. If Tom Brady left that place because they didn't have any weapons, I think that was a place that was barren for any opportunities to blossom. Cam Newton ain't dead. He don't like support, though. Coming up at the top of the hour, I mean, pull the plug. Cam Newton started off hot. Now, not so much. We'll tell you if he'll be a starter or a backup next season. But first, the Cowboys are playing so bad, they're answering questions about tanking. We'll tell you if they're the NFL's biggest disappointment next. Leave him alone. Speak for yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Cowboys, well, they're currently on a 3-game losing streak with no end in sight. Andy Dalton, he's on the COVID-19 list. So on Sunday, the team will turn to their 4th starting quarterback this season. Either Garrett Gilbert, my former college teammate, or Cooper Rush will be the starter after Ben DiNucci struggled in their last game. Yesterday, Jerry Jones nixed any idea that the Cowboys should be tanking, saying the opportunity, quote, makes you see more young players. So, Marcellus, misery does need discussion at times.
It's kind of a good name.
I don't know who Millery is.
Yeah, you don't. Check your phone.
Let me know, though, Sal. Are the Cowboys the NFL's biggest disappointment this season?
No, they're not the biggest disappointment this season, unless you suffer from what you suffer from.
What I suffer from, bro?
Cowboyotic syndrome, where you hype up everything by the Cowboys, anything that they do. That star shines so bright, you can't even see throughout the day. I told her to know where he's going because he's suffering from cowboyotic syndrome. And when you hype things up, you get obviously disappointed when things don't go your way. So you exaggerate to the positive and you exaggerate to the negative. I'm reading you right now, Millery. I can see it in you right now, Mr. Millery, that you are going to suffer from that syndrome once again during this block. But I'm not, because I can't look at the Cowboys and think that they're a disappointment, because that's not a playoff team from last year, are they? Oh, no. They weren't a winning team last year, were they? No. Oh, did they lose their starting quarterback, QB1 and QB2? Yes, they have. So once you lose your starting quarterback and you weren't even a playoff team or a winning team, you're out of this conversation. But let's enter some teams that were in that same predicament last year and now find themselves disappointed. Let's look at the Houston Texans. Oh, did that team win a division last year? Oh, yes, they did. Did they make it to the playoffs? Oh, yes, they did. Did they win a game in the playoffs? Oh, yes, they did. And what did they do? All they did was trade away one receiver, and everything has went to bed. 1-6 right now from a 10-6 year last year. You lose your GM and head coach in the same firing, and this team doesn't look like they have much going on. What about the Minnesota Vikings? Oh, a 2-5 team that last year was 10-6. Did they make it to the playoffs? Yes, they did. Did they win a playoff game? Yes, they did. Did Kirk Cousins get the monkey off his back? Yes, he did. And then all of a sudden, they're in this situation. So unless you have something that trumps 2 playoff teams that actually won playoff games last year that are disappointing, hovering around the same record as the Dallas Cowboys or worse, I don't understand what conversation we're going to have.
Big dog, you came in real confident. You like that take.
You know the beat
I could tell. He was smiling through that whole take. The take was trash.
Come on, bro.
Like the Dallas Cowboys this season. The Cowboys are the biggest disappointment, Marcellus. And I've said this before. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. The Cowboys came into the NFL with top 3 expectations. I would say the Chiefs had higher expectations, Super Bowl champions, obviously. I would say the Buccaneers had higher expectations. I had in the greatest quarterback of all time, arguably the greatest player of all time. But then after that, it was the Cowboys, and these weren't my expectations. These were their all-pro running backs' expectations. He said this was probably the most talented team I've ever been on. Just look at the depth chart. Okay, bump Zeke. You're right. Zeke can be young. He can be immature. I'm not going to take his word for nothing. He got a tattoo on him that says, feed me. We got to question his decision-making.
He's feeding us BS.
So then let's listen to Mike McCarthy. He's won a Super Bowl before, so he knows something about winning Super Bowls.
Let's go.
Mike McCarthy says, if you're not trying to win a Super Bowl, I don't even know what you're doing in this business. Mike McCarthy said, I've always been very upfront with every team I have coached. We're in this to win a championship. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. Cowboys have the highest expectations. They have had top 3. they have one of the worst realities, so they are the biggest disappointment. I also look at it like this. Marcellus, the Cowboys are on pace to have their 3rd worst record in franchise history since the NFL turned to 16 games in a season. 3rd worst since 1978.
Yeah.
Their 2nd worst since before I was born. Okay? How can you tell me that they're not a disappointment? You can. So let me, hopefully, somebody can bring it in to level the score. I got to bring in Super Bowl champ Akeem Talib, a man that's not afraid to speak his mind. So, Akeem, you tell me, are the Cowboys the biggest NFL disappointment this season? Oh, I like the headphones,
I like
too.
it.
Yeah, they made me put the headphones on, man. I like to go without the headphones, but anything for you guys.
My dog.
Appreciate it.
The Cowboys, I'm a Dallas native.
Yeah.
So I would say they are the biggest disappointment
Here we go.
Of the season, man. Just, with a stacked up team like that, a guy like McCarthy comes in, man, you expect the Cowboys to do a lot. And they haven't done a lot this year. They did a little.
He's saying
And
nice.
it's not their fault, man. They caught the injury plague. The bug caught them, bit them.
Yep.
They got a bunch of injuries from O-line to quarterback to defense, everything. So it's not their fault, but the bottom line is they the biggest disappointment in the league this year.
Yo, this the nicest I done heard you, Akeem Talib, because
them headphones.
he said they done a little.
There was some medication.
They ain't done jack. I'm going to say what Akeem Talib been trying to say.
What?
The Cowboys ain't
we on
done
TV.
nothing.
I can't. Yeah, hold on. TV or not, we can keep this 100, Keith. We keep it real
I
up
gotta
here.
turn down. I gotta turn down off podcast mode a little bit for TV, but they haven't done much, man. They ain't done much, and the whole city is expecting them to win a Super Bowl every year, man. So being a Dallas native, I get the brunt of it. I get a lot of the conversations about the Cowboys. So people are disappointed out here.
But y'all can't have it both ways. One time, first of all, this is an impossible position I'm in. I'm talking to 2 Dallas natives that gonna hype up everything. Both of y'all suffer from cowboyotic syndrome. And everything, everywhere I go, they always talking about the Cowboys and they got this stacked roster. One day I hear y'all say that, and then the next day I hear, well, we haven't been to the NFC Championship game in 25 years, and it's nothing but futility around here, and we can't even get things right. Which one is it? Do you have the low expectations that the rest of the world has for your team? Or are you guys going to suffer from your locale? Because you're from Dallas, you're going to hype it up. Because I don't see this team as the biggest disappointment.
I mean, last year they was the biggest disappointment. Every year they not successful. They the biggest. They America's team, man. Guys expect. It's like this guy's in the running with them. It's close second places. Like, I mean, the Texans is one of them. You expect the Texans to do something close to, but at the same time, man, it's that team, the Texans team, they're not the Cowboys. They're not held at that standard.
Oh, so y'all caught up in
they're not held at that standard.
No, my bad. I'm not having my big headphones on and my chain on, and I'm not wearing my presidential costume today that Acho has on. So I'm just keeping it real with y'all, keeping it a buck. Y'all talking about the Houston Texans team that has a worse record than you guys? Or y'all don't even want to talk about a situation where the Vikings are right there with the Cowboys, and the Vikings are a real team, playoff team, good quarterback, good coach, and good running back, and they're all together now, and they're still at the same level of wins as y'all.
So the difference is you said we're caught up in the hype.
Y'all are.
Everybody is. That's what makes it disappointment. The fact that the Cowboys was hyped up.
That's my point.
Like, the fact that the Cowboys was hyped up is what makes it disappointment. Of course we was caught up in the hype, because the Cowboys were caught up in the hype. The whole world was caught up in the hype. When you're America's team, you're caught up in the hype. When you got a practice facility with $1 million worth of chandeliers. Keith, I don't know if you've been in the practice facility for the Cowboys in Frisco. You got $1 million, bro, of chandeliers. Marcellus, the whole team is hyped. Man. That's why they the biggest disappointment.
The mantra.
That's how I go, Marcellus. That's how I go.
Y'all got
go, man.
Hey, Keith, how y'all get sold on a commercial and a mantra? Like, really? And we're America's team. Guess what? We're going to win the Super Bowl every year. Hell no. Y'all are 2 players. Y'all understand how this rolls. It's about substance, not just sizzle. To be caught up in the hype is saying it's really selling yourself short. We're not looking at the team for what it really is and the details. Ezekiel Elliott has disappeared, and their starting quarterback, Dak Prescott, has disappear because of injury. The point is,
the O-line disappeared too.
The O-line disappeared. All of that said,
they hurt.
All of that said, it doesn't lend itself to this team was ever the team that we thought was going to win the Super Bowl this year. Who walked into the season saying that when Green Bay was one game away from it?
did.
Ezekiel
Mike McCarthy did.
The same Ezekiel Elliott who thought he was better than Dalvin Cook. Remember they had that competition last year?
The head coach.
How'd that turn out? How'd that turn out?
Here's the difference.
How is that turning out?
Let me tell you how things turned out.
I didn't walk into the season thinking the Vikings was going to win the championship, the Texans. I didn't walk into the season thinking none of those teams was going to win the championship. So, I mean.
And you thought the Cowboys were?
Thought they were going to be in there in the conversation.
I thought they would be a contender.
Thank you.
I thought they would be top 3 in the NFL.
Win the division first. How about baby steps? Y'all didn't even win the division last year. You talk about contender for the championship.
Coming into the season, everybody
I just played the Cowboys. I just sent the Cowboys home 2 years ago out the playoffs, so it's not like they've been going away from the playoffs.
Sound like somebody's uncle.
I just sent them home.
Sound like somebody's uncle. Boy, a couple years ago, I hit that boy upside the head.
Yeah, I just sent them guys home a few years ago, so they still in the running. They right there.
Everybody thought the Cowboys was at least going to be the best team in the NFC East at a minimum.
What?
At a minimum. You returning the best quarterback.
Definitely.
That's what everybody told me.
That's real.
You returning the best quarterback.
That's real.
You got the only other coach that's won a Super Bowl in Mike McCarthy, second to Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
So you returning a great coach, a great quarterback. You just drafted a first-round pick receiver. Everybody thought they should at least win the division, but they were 1-3 with Dak Prescott. Even when they had their quarterback, they were still the biggest disappointment in the NFL. How can you say they not right now? It just don't make sense.
And it was how they was losing, Marcellus. They was turning the ball over 2-3 times in the first quarter. When you brought in the offensive coach, you know what I'm saying? You got a veteran offense now. I mean, you got arguably the best line in the NFC East. You could argue that. I mean, it's you 1-3 with all your guys, man. That's a disappointment in my eyes.
Hey, man, you know what? They just had two things that didn't go together this year, like ham and no burger. You know what I'm saying? Peanut butter, no jelly. That's what happened to this team. Because when the offense was rolling and Dak was healthy, 40 points, 38 points, 37 points, 31, and then all of a sudden, he gets hurt, and the defense want to act like they want to play some football now, and we saw him last week.
Right.
And it's just not matching up, and in part is because they have no continuity from the head coach coming into a new situation, and it's a new system that is being learned. But biggest disappointment? Who in the hell are y'all talking about they going to win it all when they couldn't even win a division last year? We're going to have to bring you back, Akeem, and change what you listen to in them headphones so you can be on the same page with us. Coming up, the Bucs gave Tom Brady another weapon in Antonio Brown, but we'll tell you if Tampa really needs them. Next, speak for yourself, Dallas. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Antonio Brown had his first practice with the Bucs today and is eligible to play Sunday night against the Saints. Hey, chill out, Pete. Tampa added another weapon to the team that is rolling on a 3-game winning streak and is currently 6-2. AB is reunited with Tom Brady, who said the receiver is actually staying at his house in Tampa. I know he got enough room. Brown had nothing but praise for Brady earlier today. Take a listen to this.
Tom is my boy, one of the greatest leaders to be around. You know, he's encouraging, always inspiring. He brings out the best of the people around him. He wants the best for everyone around him. I mean, he's the greatest quarterback all time. Nothing he have done in the past matter. He always getting better day in and day out. And I just learned a lot from him.
Brady got him in the house, huh? At least he got him on the payroll, too, with that hat on. Akeem Talib is back with us, but Acho. Do the Bucs need Antonio Brown? What the hell Brady doing?
AB, blink twice if you need some help.
Get out. Get out that house.
I'm done with y'all, man. The Bucs absolutely need Antonio Brown to answer the question.
Whoa.
A couple weeks ago, Akeem, they said Antonio Brown is like insurance, right? He's not a necessity, but he's like insurance. Then I thought about it. You was right, Marcellus, when you said that, because it's illegal to drive a car without insurance, and it should be illegal for this Bucs offense to try to function without AB being the insurance.
I like that.
When I look at it, I say, man, the Bucs looked mighty vulnerable against the Giants when they didn't have Chris Godwin. Mind you, they've only had Chris Godwin and Mike Evans on the field together for 4 times this season. I listen when players talk, because players will give you some insight if you listen closely enough. At the end of the game, Monday night, Mike Evans, he's talking to the Lisa Salters postgame, and he says, I'm glad we're getting AB so they can take the double-team coverage off of me. It seems like it's not easy to beat the Bucs, but it's plausible if you don't beat Tom Brady, you beat everybody else. That's what head coach of the Giants, Joe Judge, said. Don't beat Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time. Let's just defeat all his weapons. You can defeat Scotty Miller, 6th-round pick from Bowling Green. You can defeat Rob Gronkowski. He came out of retirement. Not sure if that was the wisest decision just yet. You can defeat those dudes right now. Mike Evans, you can defeat him with the double team. But if you get AB, all of a sudden, Mike Evans, he's not going to get double teamed, and now the Bucs have a better chance. I do think the Bucs actually and desperately need AB, because after watching that Giants game, a terrible Giants offense, which was 1-2 yards away from taking the Bucs into overtime, I realized, hey, the Bucs need AB.
Hey, I agree, Sam. I agree. If you just look,
He got him, Sam. I know this is the other brother that didn't really play. This is him. That's him.
We sit here at the set.
People, hey, they call me my brother name all the time, and I'm the popular
No, they
one,
call
man.
you a key.
That's on me.
They call you a key.
That's on me. But check this out. If you just watch the game and you just look at the mannerisms of Mike Evans, he almost not happy right now. If they would have had a losing record, he probably would have been spoke up and said something. He scored a touchdown. There's no celebrating. It's nothing, really. He don't like the 2 catches for 14 yards and a touchdown. He don't really like those numbers. But the savior is coming in. AB is here. The safety going to have to pick his poison, man. You have to stay in the middle, which Tom Brady will love. Or if you lean to this hash, he's going to work this side. If you lean to this hash, he's going to work the other side, man. So I think AB is the savior for Mike Evans, man. Mike Evans would be the happiest Buccaneer in Tampa now that AB is in town.
Man, they don't need AB, but what a gift it is if he's on this roster. But no, they could have still accomplished their goals without AB. Don't forget that the GOAT joined the most dynamic wide receiver duo in the NFL, most prolific by the numbers last year, this year by becoming a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. The GOAT meets the best duo at wide receiver. So all of a sudden, now we look at AB and we look at him like, do you need him? Do you not need him? Look, we're never going to shy away from more talent on any roster. But to say that AB is the reason why this team is, what, 6-2? No, he's not the reason. And the reason why they're a contender or maybe the favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl? No, that's not because of AB. So they don't need him in that respect. And for Acho to go out there and once again carve up some numbers, have some omission facts, let's talk about that same Mike Evans. And Akeem even went there. He doesn't look like he's happy. Doesn't look like he likes all these double teams. What double team? He has 7 touchdowns this year, tied for the most in the NFL, the same he had at the same point last year, despite injuries this year, despite learning a new quarterback this year. So Mike Evans is not even letting you guys know in body language that he's unhappy. Maybe he wants more. Look, he has the ego of a great athlete, which is, I'm never satisfied, but I don't see this as a situation where AB was brought in necessity. But anytime you could bring in that supreme of a talent, AB, who we know is a first ballot future Hall of Famer unless off the field issues get in the way of that, but still a surefire Hall of Famer onto a roster that already had dynamic prowess at the receiver position, now added with the GOAT. This team was ready-made and already on course to becoming what it's going to be. It's just going to get there faster now with AB.
Here's your problem, Sel. How can the Bucs be the best team in the league, be the best team in the NFC if they're not the best team in their division?
Go.
The Saints are still the best team in the division. Last I checked.
Who's winning the division?
Last time, 5-2, 6-2.
Who's winning the division?
Who has the head-to-head? 5-2, 6-2.
They got the head-to-head, but they got the same wins.
Ended right now.
Do they have the same amount of wins?
Who got the head-to-head? Exactly.
The same amount of wins.
Exactly. Who has the better winning percentage? I'm done talking to you. Thank you. If the Saints are the better team in their own division, don't talk to me about the Bucs just yet. You got to fix your face before you start talking about these Buccaneers, because the Bucs haven't even beat the Saints just yet. You talk about Mike Evans, and we got to talk about Mike Evans because the team goes as he goes.
Beast.
The Saints have a Mike Evans stopper in Marshawn Lattimore. When Marshawn lines up against Mike Evans, like disappears. Amber alert. Has anybody seen Mike Evans? Please
stop.
Mike Evans.
That's a great point.
Look at it. 6.5 targets a game compared to 9. 3 receptions a game when he got Marshawn on him compared to 5. Catch percentage goes down. Only 50 yards a game. Why do I say that, Marcellus?
I don't know why.
I say it because in the Saints win over the Bucs week 1, Mike Evans had 1 reception.
New quarterback.
2 yards.
New quarterback alert.
In the
Exactly.
in the losses and close wins, Mike Evans, he goes away and he disappears. You lose to the Bucs. You lose to the Bears. Mike Evans, 41 yards. You barely beat the Giants. Mike Evans, 55 yards. A.B. coming allows Mike Evans to thrive. The Bucs don't necessarily go as Tom Brady goes. They go as Mike Evans goes.
They definitely go as Mike Evans go. And just being a DB, if I was coming into the game and I was going against Mike Evans and Godwin, that's, I'm cool with that. I'm straight. I like our chances. I'd cover Mike. Whoever else would cover Godwin. But when you coming into that game and you got Mike, you got Godwin, and you got AB now your DB coach is going to have he's going to have a lot of trouble that week, just preparing. How are we going to guard these guys? Are we going to play man? You almost got to change. You can't play man against those guys. It's impossible. So going into that game, it makes it easier for Tom. So, just bringing one person, adding one person to the equation, man, he cleans it up for everybody, man. If you look at the weapons, look at the Super Bowl champ from last year. They had weapons everywhere, and that's the new NFL. It's turning into spread the ball out, a bunch of passes, weapons everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And Tampa is catching up right now, man. I think they can do something with AB. I think they do need him because without him, you double Evans and you make Godwin beat you. And that can be done. But you can't double. You can double AB. You can double Evans. Now you got Gronk and Godwin. You just can't double everybody. Yeah. And Tom Brady is the quarterback, man. So I feel like that was the one missing piece to the equation, and they're going to be close to unstoppable at this point.
Yeah, it's an abundance of riches. Look, every team has a different level in terms of their room for error. And now you just increased it where they're going to have more room for error because of all of those weapons. You can't cover them all. But we're not going to go up here and have some Mike Evans blasphemy going on, especially by you, Acho. We're not going to talk about the Saints like they're unbeatable, the same Saints team that lost to the Raiders and to the Packers. We saw that. Last 4 wins by only 15 points. We're not going to talk about Mike Evans. Oh, he disappears in the games. Where was he in week 1? Well, where was Michael Thomas in week 1? He was out there. 3 catches, 17 yards. What continuity with him and Drew Brees coming off to that tremendous season last year? So it happens. Where was Emmanuel Sanders, who had no continuity? Kind of like Mike Evans and Tom Brady. Hey, we're going to learn this situation on the fly in game 1. 3 catches for 15 yards. So look, Kamara got shut down in that game. Drew Brees got shut down in that game. It is a total team unit that's going to be out there when you talk about the Tampa Bay Bucs, and we know how strong their defense is. That said, AB coming to this team, it's just going to be too much for teams to handle. Coming up, Daniel Jones has thrown more picks than touchdowns this season, but Joe Judge is sticking by him. Your boy Joe Judge, Acho. We'll tell you if the Giants should be sold on their quarterback. Next, speak for yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Daniel Jones, quarterback for the New York Giants, he's showing the signs of a sophomore slump. Thrown more interceptions than touchdowns this season, including 2 on Monday night, when the Giants had a chance to upset the Bucs. New York is currently 1-7, but head coach Joe Judge isn't making any changes, saying, quote, Daniels, our quarterback, clearly put.
Right.
So, Marcellus.
Play with your chest.
Should the Giants be sold on Daniel Jones?
Hell yeah, they should be sold on Daniel Jones. I look like I'm about to sell you on Daniel Jones the way you responded to me right now. Look, he's just caught up in a windstorm right now. You know about this, being from the Dallas area, and you just get caught up in that wind tunnel. It's just like a lot of things are going on. Where's Saquon Barkley? Help me, ground me. Oh, you're not there. Oh, okay, let's stabilize this organization before we can see what Daniel Jones really is in terms of his ability, because I can see the ability right there. A lot of people can see the ability, but you got to separate the ability from his achievement, because right now, he's not going to achieve that much with this organization, with this team, with this roster construction, and with the injuries. Let's just be real about that in his second year. I'm not the only one that's singing some lukewarm praises for him, or at least identifies how good the guy can be. Even Bruce Arians post-game was like, God bless him, talking about Daniel Jones. He is hard to handle. I could have stopped the quote right there and then really had you on the ropes. But he said he's a kid that thinks he can make a play, which is good because he has so much on his shoulders this year with the injury to Saquon Barkley that he is trying to make a play, maybe trying too hard to make that same play. But this is a guy that I will separate from his circumstance and realize the guy has an arm, he can make all the throws, and he's mobile, 2.0 style quarterback. So for my money, I am building around Daniel Jones. Once we get Saquon back next year, we can do something.
Bro, if you're building around Daniel Jones, please let me know the area code because I'm not going to that building. Hey, real quick, read that Bruce Arians quote for me again. I missed something.
Oh, here we go. He says, God bless him. Daniel Jones is better than Carson Wentz. This kid is amazing. He makes all the plays. Oh, did I butcher it the second time? You know what
you said was he's a kid who thinks he can make a play.
I mean,
and that operative word
confidence
is think. He thinks he can make a play. They didn't say he can make a play. Well, okay, that's a big difference right there. The Giants should not be sold on Daniel Jones. And in fact, unfortunately, they should probably sell Daniel Jones. Not an indictment on Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones, the person. He came in, everybody was attacking him. You shouldn't have been drafted over Haskins. You shouldn't have been drafted that high. He's like, I didn't draft myself. Yeah. He's like, I didn't do anything wrong. Let me give it to you in educational terms, something you and I can both look to. Remember, Marcellus, in high school, in middle school, your teachers will grade you on a curve. If the highest grade in the class is a 75, they'll just bump everybody up 10 points. But then, Marcellus, you might take another test, and there's always them 1 or 2 kids that they get too high of grades that it ruins the curve. The teacher's like, well, somebody got a 95, so clearly we shouldn't curve this test. Right now, you got 3 kids ruining the curve.
I like it.
Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray. What we're seeing is young quarterbacks coming in, succeeding, limited off seasons, new head coaches, not much talent around them. When you talk of 2 of the teams, 2 of the players I mentioned, they're ruining the curve for Daniel Jones. In years past, young quarterback, new head coach, didn't come from a real football school. Give him some time. But the problem is you can't give them time anymore because the NFL doesn't allot that for these young quarterbacks. And we've seen young quarterbacks come in and ball. For that reason and that reason alone, I think the Giants shouldn't be sold. If you just want to sit there and give Daniel Jones some time to sit in the pressure cooker and hopefully he'll turn around. But remember, you got young quarterbacks balling. Trevor Lawrence is going to come out next year. Justin Fields is going to come out next year. Quarterbacks are going to come out after that. How long can you give Daniel Jones? I think we've seen enough based on how we look at things this year.
You look at life that way, huh? What are other people doing out there? Oh, my God, that's what they're doing. This is what we have to do. I'm going to wear this. I'm Acho. I am caught up in the fad. That's how you evaluate players. Interesting. Look, hey, you crispy today, boy. You got me today. But I know also that you got 2 degrees from the University of Texas because you were graded on a curve. Interesting. They bumped you up, huh? You didn't really achieve those, huh? In an absolute standard way. Columbia taught you different. All right, let's get to this situation. Because my coach always said, kickoff team. And when he said kickoff team, he said, set the tone. And I hated kickoff team because that meant you had to send a message. Not just make a play, send a message. I'm about to make a play right now and send a message to you, Mr. Evaluator, grading on a curve. Full screen time. Let's see who Daniel Jones really is. Let's not grade him based on kids, based on some youngsters or some guys that are draft prospects. Let's grade him against a grown-ass man, Hall of Famer. Oh, the greatest quarterback ever in my world. Let's see. Peyton Manning and Daniel Jones after 20 games. Only one difference in terms of the win-loss column. Completion percentage. Daniel Jones, how dare you be more accurate with the football than Peyton Manning. Passing yards per game, comparable. Peyton has the edge. He is Peyton Manning. And passing touchdowns and interceptions. How dare you have a better ratio, Daniel Jones, than the great Peyton Manning. And passer rating. Oh, my God, are you kidding me? We don't even need a grade on the curve because if we did, we would have to help Peyton Manning out, not Daniel Jones. Remove the full screen, and let's show Acho's face right now. You can remove one of those fingers because I know how you really feel about me right now. The point of it is, I'm not grading him based on some puppies that look good after 8 weeks. I'm going to grade him against the test of time and the greatest to all ever do it. Peyton Manning, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones gets the nod right now.
Sel, it's a completely different market. When you come up here and do things like this, you confuse me because I'm like, this man is so educated.
I'm old, too.
But he's trying not to understand the fact that the times change. The markets change.
The position
the position doesn't, and you're right. I understood the argument. You tried to grasp at. You tried to grasp at that straw, but you missed that one as well, sir. Somebody help Marcellus get him a life raft because he's sinking quickly. So the problem is what Peyton Manning was doing in 1998 and the time and the grace that he was allotted and allowed is vastly different than right now. Let me put some things in perspective for you. When you look at a quarterback in his second season, we've been able to tell how will they fare as of late. When I talk about the top 10 overall picks of quarterbacks since the year 2000, look at their second season and their passer rating. You're just going to see a couple names, and you're going to be like, wait, should Daniel Jones survive in this company?
How to survive?
I see number 1, Josh Rosen. Number 2, Matt Leinart. Let's get this full screen so the world can see what I see. Number 2, Matt Leinart. Number 3, Joey Harrington. Then David Carr, Sam Bradford, my guy Vince Young, Daniel Jones, Jake Locker. Thankfully, you got Alex Smith and Mark Sanchez. You could argue 8, 9 of the guys on that list were underachievers. So what I say is this. By that second season, if you're looking at the passer ratings, you can kind of start to tell in recent history whether a quarterback is going to succeed or not. The learning curve is not as long in modern-day NFL. There are better ways to learn. There are better ways to study your playbook. There are better ways to recover. There are better ways to rest. There's better ways to do everything. So the archaic way, and I say archaic because when did Manning come to the league? 98? I say archaic 98. Because 22 years ago in NFL terms is archaic. Peyton Manning was allowed a longer inbound period. Daniel Jones, you got to see it now. We're not seeing it.
Well, here's the thing. He should be given more runway. We're looking at that same. Why? Because he has the talent, and this year he has no running game. Like, his running backs are gone. Like, Saquon Barkley is out for the year. That makes you reset all of your expectations in terms of offensive production. It just does. You build your team. You build this new culture. You got a new coach. And then you come in and you lose your star player. Now you're going to look at Daniel Jones and say, oh, well, you're now our star player, remember? And you're like, no, we didn't condition ourselves for this. With no offseason, with a compromised training camp, everything. And now it all falls on his lap or on his shoulder. That said, to me, that buys him a year. While we're still out there looking at older players like a Baker Mayfield, does he have it? Or Carson Wentz, does he have it? You're not going to give the same amount of lease to a Daniel Jones.
Here's my problem, big bro. Okay. If you want to find an excuse, you will. And I'm not saying that Saquon Barkley is not an excuse, but if you want to find a reason, if you want to find an excuse, you're going to find it if you look hard enough. What happens if next year Evan Ingram gets hurt? Sterling Shepard gets hurt. How long will we continue to perpetuate excuses for Daniel Jones? You see in Carolina, I'm not going to compare Teddy Bridgewater to Daniel Jones, but what I am going to compare is new head coach and loss of sick Christian McCaffrey. You can look around the league and make excuses for any player on any team in any organization.
Teddy Bridgewater can handle that differently.
Well, first off, the quarterback draft class was atrocious last year, so there really aren't quarterbacks to compare him to as far as in the second year. But when I look at it like this, Daniel Jones has less passing touchdowns than Dak Prescott. Dak ain't played in a month. Less passing touchdowns than Nick Foles. Nick Foles became the starter a month ago. Less passing touchdowns, same as Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo's only played 6 games and has missed 2, and he has 1 more passing touchdown than Mitch Trubisky, who hasn't played in a month and a half. Daniel Jones just isn't doing much of anything. 7 touchdowns, 9 picks. I understand you wanting to extend Daniel Jones' grace, but I'm just wondering, at what point do you say, you know what? Let me cut my losses.
It's not cutting your losses because you don't know your gains yet. You haven't had a team around him yet to fully assess him. It kind of reminds me of when RG3 hit the scene. And there were those skeptics out there about RG3. Should you really go high on him or should you not? And then he hit the ground running. And that changed everyone's imagination until the injury. And then once he tried to recover from the injury, you realized that he was just a shell of himself. It all of a sudden reset your expectations back again. See, this is why you don't get those type of quarterbacks. Then Cam Newton and his greatness, and then now you see it, obviously, with Lamar Jackson. My point is, your assessment lane, it continues to move, and it's based on others. Some guys hit the ground running in their first year. Some guys, it takes 8, 10 years. I don't know if you remember this name since I'm so archaic and dinosaur. Rich Gannon. Do you remember Rich Gannon? We used to call him a machine, because when he finally hit, he hit. And I'm not saying this is a Rich Gannon project. I'm not saying it's going to take that long. I'm saying you have to give the Daniel Jones more than 1 year with Saquon Barkley, and you certainly can't grade him this year.
I agree with that aspect, and I really like that train of thought. This is actually a bigger conversation than sports. I think the problem is now in 2020 in our society and in sports, there isn't the slow cooker mentality. For better or for worse, Marcellus, we have to accept the fact that we want sensations overnight. We want Justin Biebers. We want people who just pop up and it's like, wait, where did they come from? That's what we want now. That's what we expect. I'm not mad at you for the old school train of thought, which is give them time to grind, give them time to grind. But if I'm the Giants, it's hard to give Daniel Jones a lot of time when I'm looking around like, dang, Joe Burrow, man, Kyler's balling. Herbert's balling. But Daniel Jones, what you gonna do for me?
Yeah, but look, I don't know. You don't strike me as a late bloomer because you were all-state the man and you went to UT. I was a late bloomer. Like, I was a guy who went through a growth spurt through high school. Every year, it was
Could you have gone somewhere besides Columbia?
Yeah,
you had offers?
Yeah, I had offers.
Okay.
But I knew that if I went to those schools, I felt that I'm already starting my ceiling second string, work my way up sophomore year, et cetera. I wanted to hit the ground running. So I was like, I could go to these bigger schools, a lot of Pac-10 schools at the time, or I could go somewhere where I'm the big fish in a little pond. And then, obviously, the academic priority and their reputation factored in. Point being, I was a late bloomer. I went to college as a freshman. I was 6'1", 180. My mama was bigger than me, and I'm playing college football, D1, AA. And people are like, dog, catch up to your mama at least. But the point is, with a mentality like yours or a mentality like this society today, I'm discarded. I'm done. Oh, who cares about him? If he's not ready now, well, let's look at the big school prospects, and that's it. I continue to grow, including in the league, I continue to grow. I didn't start from day one. We have to allow guys to have that opportunity, that runway. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to hit. I'm just saying give him the opportunity.
But now what about the risk reward? Because we've given Baker that runway. And sooner Baker, you could argue, might cost the Cleveland Browns this season. Like, the Cleveland Browns is a playoff team. We've said this before. Playoff defense, playoff receivers, playoff running backs, playoff coach.
Yeah.
But by giving Baker more runway, he might mess around and cost the Browns a playoff season when they haven't seen one in years. It's a risk.
It's a risk.
It's a high risk.
If you don't hit the ground running, the risk continues to rise. We understand that. But there's a certain point where you're like, I have to stay invested in something that may be risky because the stock market, you can't just say, oh, you know what, I had a bad day. All right, hey, get rid of that one. You can't do that. You got to ride the waves, and Daniel Jones is a wave worth riding.
This is why I don't play the stocks. I play blackjack. Coming up in our big story. He's going to be broke. Cam Newton was in line for a big payday, like me on the blackjack tables, but then he started slumping. I'm going to tell you why he might be a backup next season. That's next. Speak for yourself.
You're watching Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley up here losing to the dapper Emmanuel Acho.
At least you didn't call me Sam. You could have called me by my brother's name. I respect you for that. It hurts a little bit. It does. I thought, Marcellus, I'd worked hard enough in this life to be recognized as my own man, and here I am still being confused for my older brother. Incredible accomplishments, incredible career, incredible human being, but I'm my own man, gosh dang it.
I respect that, but let me say something for Sam. You're always my little brother. That's how it goes. Let's talk about Cam Newton, my big dog, and our big story. The Patriots quarterback is playing on a one-year deal for a base salary of only $1 million this season. Started off hot in his first 2 games with 5 total touchdowns and looked like a sure shot to get a big deal this offseason. But his last 3 games have been disaster with 0 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. So here comes Acho. Acho, is it more likely Cam is a starter or a backup next season? Can't even get it. Backup? Please.
Marcel, what you should have also added is or out the league. Okay, what you need to be a realist and also add that.
Hot take.
Not a hot take.
Hot take.
Think about this.
What?
Where, if you're a general manager, where would you start Cam next year? If this continues, if this were to continue, I just don't know where I can see Cam as a starter. Let me not give you a hot take. Let me give you facts.
Sure.
Cam Newton is a great quarterback when it comes to the overall assets of being a quarterback. He can run the ball to a degree. He can throw the ball, but he's proven over the course of his career he can't throw the ball all that well, so it's his running ability that I love. But if you were going to have Cam Newton on your team, you're going to have him on a team that doesn't have too many weapons at wide receiver because he's going to undermine those weapons at wide receiver because Cam Newton can't throw the ball all that well. Again, what I've told you, 7 seasons with under a 60% completion percentage. 60% is just baseline in the NFL.
Baseline?
Like that's just average. I'm not asking you to do a lot. My issue at hand is very, very simple. The Patriots were the one team that was going to take a chance on Cam. Obviously, it's not my opinion. This is a fact. The Patriots took a chance on Cam, started Cam because they missed with Jarrett Stidham, and now they're looking at Cam like, man, not only are you not winning us games, you're losing us games. When I look at Cam, I don't know how, Marcellus, you will find a way to confidently say that he'll be a starter next year when the unknown is more appealing than the known in anything in life. If you're in a relationship, but I wonder what it would be like to be single. If you're single, man, but I wonder what it would be like to be man. The unknown is always more appealing. Going into the season, Cam Newton was unknown. He's been hurt. When he was healthy, 6-2 like you submitted, another MVP type of season. He's hurt. Maybe he'll be great. But now it's known. Now it's 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Will you stop?
Now it's only 6 rushing touchdowns. Now it's, 6 interceptions in his last 3 games, or 6 turnovers in his last 3 games. Now it's known, and I just don't know how you or any other GM will be able to confidently say, if this continues, Cam will be a starter.
I know how, and I'm going to use a lot of your words against you.
Please do,
1,
sir.
he's a starter. 2, you said he has all of the attributes you need to be a starting quarterback. 3, there are situations out there that make you understand that he's not only a starter, but he may be the starter in that situation. I wonder if Carson Wentz is going to be a starter next year. Oh, he will, because they're stuck with him because of his dead cap, right? But that quarterback rating is the same as Cam Newton, so you're not trying to get rid of Carson Wentz, are you? No, you're not. Quiet over there. Look at that face. Mum's the word.
To let you talk.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, you now want to let me talk? Uh-huh. You know why? Because they're in the same position, except not really in terms of the assets around them or the assets invested in them. Sam Darnold, I wonder if he's a starter. He's not looking as good as Cam Newton. Oh, you just heard his general manager say he's the quarterback of their future. What about Drew Lock not having such a great year this year? Is he a starter next year? Oh, beyond if he's a starter next year, maybe Cam Newton finds himself in Denver. Maybe he finds himself in Washington back with Ron Rivera. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know their personal relationship. They had that opportunity this offseason, didn't take advantage of it. But next offseason, Cam Newton he'll be able to do the rounds because it won't be the same limitations and restrictions that came from COVID. Oh, what about the 49ers? Because of the dead cap number for Jimmy G, potentially they let him go. Potentially they could bring him back. Potentially they could restructure it. But potentially Cam Newton, because you can't get Matt Ryan. It looks like he's staying in Atlanta. Kyle Shanahan's like, we got a strong running game. All we need is a quarterback that can help in the running game, stay healthy, and be accurate. And that's Cam Newton. 66% this year, and he's had another year before we were 68%. So for you to always talk about the bad, balance it out with the good. Cam Newton, because of his accuracy, is going to be saved in this league to go to a new situation with greater talent around him to go out there and be the starter he is.
So I'm not even speaking biasly. Again, I like Cam Newton, but I don't know how you can look at Cam Newton's 10-year career, see 7 losing seasons,
I saw it,
3 winning seasons, and say tell the full. It's better I don't tell the full picture, because the full picture is even more harmful. Like when you're talking to somebody, it's like, you know what? When she says, how do I look in this? Let me not be honest. Because if I really tell the truth, I'm going to hurt your feelings. I'm not even really telling the truth on Cam because I like him, and I don't want him to see this and get mad at me. I'm like, Cam, you were my favorite player. Like, I'm not even trying to be disrespectful. But what I'm trying to be is honest. Marcellus, through week 8, let me show you a full screen. The worst touchdown to interception ratio amongst quarterbacks.
Who that?
Through week 8. You got Deshaun Kaiser, 2017. Let's start with Jamarcus Russell. 2 touchdowns, 9 picks. Derek Anderson, Deshaun Kaiser, Cam Newton. This isn't my opinion. This isn't, Ocho, let's slander Cam, let's slander Cam. This is, man, I'm looking at the numbers, bro, and I got to be honest. If somebody asks me, hey, how Cam look? I'm being honest. I could not say nothing, but if I'm going to come on the show and get paid to come on the show, I'm going to tell the truth. I don't know how you up here telling these lies, but at least your check gonna cash.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Ask me how I think of you right now, because I'm going to tell you the full picture, okay? Yeah, exactly. And it is a dynamic going on. When you are married, all of a sudden everybody fine at the grocery store. But when I was single and I used to go shopping, where they at? There was nobody out there. I was like, grass is not greener, just water your lawn. Okay. Cam Newton is a failing student right now in a school that is worse than him as a failing student. And you know why I break
that down for me. Break that down for me.
Because Cam Newton is suffering from what's around him. So we're looking at Cam Newton like, damn, he's getting bad grades, but we know he's no dummy. And in his school, their test scores are horrible. Let's just test Cam. Let's just try to get him separated from this situation to see what he really has in terms of talent. And if you were to take Cam Newton out of this situation, out of this bad school, the same school that Tom Brady left, you know, his mama pulled him out. Like, he ain't going to that school no more. You're messing up my son's name and his education. If Cam Newton were in any of these situations I just talked about, you would have to look at Cam Newton differently. His saving grace is his completion percentage. What's hurting him is turning the ball over. To me, because of his talent and because of his decision-making, because of his completion percentage, that is going to incentivize another team to take a swing at Cam Newton. I'm not saying he's going to break the bank unless he takes care of the football and does more with less in New England. But I do know next year when they start rosters and they go 2-3 deep and Cam Newton is out there on the cheap, he won't be out there for long fighting for a starting position.
But here's the problem. Remember, we know this about Cam Newton. He doesn't want to be a backup, which is why I said he might end up out the league more than a starter. Because if Cam doesn't want to be a backup, but I don't see Cam as a starter, there is a major impasse. There is a problem with, well, some 2 and 2 are not adding up to 4. Marcellus, let me talk to you about this.
What?
You talk about the carousal of how many teams will Cam Newton have to sit on. Marcellus, I was never allowed to celebrate Halloween as a child. Again, I grew up in the church, my parents' dad's a pastor. And so on Halloween nights, I'd go to Hallowed Be Thy Name. Amen, hallelujah. Okay, true story. And I would always look forward to musical chairs. You remember that game? So you're walking around chairs, and as soon as the music stops, you got to take a seat because a winner would get a cake, and I would look forward to it.
A whole cake?
A whole cake.
Golly.
The kicker, Marcellus, was this. When there were a ton of chairs, it was very easy to survive because it's a ton of options for me to sit in. But then when there was just one chair left, that's when it was difficult for me to find my spot. Cam Newton, at the end of the season, is going to find himself with probably just one chair left, maybe 2.
Okay.
This offseason, all he had was one. The New England Patriots.
This was a different offseason. See, to put that in connection and correlation, unfair to Cam Newton.
But do you
A lot of movement wasn't occurring because of this offseason.
Sure,
Be real.
but it didn't negatively affect anybody else.
Well,
Teddy Bridgewater found his job. Jameis found his job.
Yeah, but Cam was coming off an injury, so he didn't have the same film, and he had doubt on his resume.
But to me, if I'm Cam, I would rather come off the injury and the doubt than come off the 2 touchdowns, 7 picks. Now, what do they say, Marcellus? Even a fool is believed to be smart when he doesn't speak.
Yep.
Even a fool is believed to be smart when he keeps silent. Even a bad quarterback is believed to be good when he don't play. Like even a bad quarterback believed to be good when he don't play. Cam Newton, we were like, oh, let's go, baby. Plays against the Seahawks. Let's go. Almost 400 yards. Let's go. And then 6 turnovers the last 2 games. You lost when your defense held the Broncos to 18 points. You fumbled at the 15-yard line against the Buffalo Bills to go in and win. You threw 3 interceptions and 9 completions against the Niners and got benched in 3 quarters. Even a bad quarterback is believed to be good when he don't play. I don't know about Cam just yet. But right now, I'd rather have doubts than be sure.
Okay, let's talk about this.
Talk about it.
First, let's go to church again.
Go to church.
Why are you losing them musical chairs, just you and one other person in the chair right there? You couldn't elbow, chicken wing them, get them out the way. You play football. What the hell?
I didn't play DN, bro. I wasn't boxing nobody out. I went arm over and club swimming.
Boy, you got a big heart. You over there. Oh, you can have the cake. Get your butt out of here. All right. You know what Cam suffers from? And this kind of takes me to all the kids I have, all 4 of them. When they're not fully prepared for a situation, despite them being fully prepared if they had the right understanding, right instruction, right amount of time to get ready for that moment. I've been there before where you kind of put your kid in something new and you look at them and some kids struggle. Actually, most kids struggle when they get to something new. Then there's this one time where you put them in something new and they hit the ground running. And it changes how you think about them and it changes how you think about them in that situation. Cam suffers from what those kids suffer from. Beginner's luck, as they will call it. Basically, you get into a situation and everybody's like, whoa, but go, look at him. This sorry-ass team that Cam Newton was on hit the ground running, beginner's luck, and everybody's like, yeah. COVID comes, interrupts that flow. He has to go back, and now they're trying to address it in a different respect. And it's not the same, man. They lost the mojo. They lost their way. He lost his way, whatever it may be. But I am not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm looking at Cam Newton like, yeah, you can fix yourself. Take you back to one more story. Me being a child, my father, because he always used to say that luxury is the home of complaining. Why? Because when you got all these options, you start looking at stuff differently. I used to go in the kitchen all the time. I think I told you this before. And I used to say, hey, Daddy, I'm hungry. He's like, well, all right, well, get something to eat in there. And I was like, there's nothing to eat. He said, are you hungry or do you want something to eat? There's a big difference. Last offseason, Cam may just wanted something to eat. This offseason, it's just me and you in that one chair. I'm hungry, big dog. I'm going to have to take this one. Coming up, Patrick Mahomes is busy doing Patrick Mahomes type things. We'll tell you if he can win MVP again this season. Next, speak for yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Patrick Mahomes, he's on fire right now, coming off a 5-touchdown performance and currently has the second best MVP odds. That's according to Fox Bet. behind only Russell Wilson. Take a look at Mahomes' numbers through the first 8 games this year compared to his 2018 MVP season. He had more passing yards 2 seasons ago, but his touchdown-interception ratio is actually better this year. So, Marcellus, you tell me, can Patrick Mahomes win MVP this season?
Yes, he can. Look, he would be the front runner if there was no Russell Wilson, but we'll get to Russell Wilson in a second. But Patrick Mahomes, talking about the pace he's on right now, the MVP pace that he was on a couple of years ago, and now you could find him as the only NFL player to rank top 3 in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and passer rating. The only one. That includes Russell Wilson, in case you didn't know that. So the point is, if you're playing as well, if not better, same record as you did in your MVP year, and a lot of attention is going to the front runner, Russell Wilson, that's to your advantage if you're Patrick Mahomes, because Russell Wilson, you're drafting right now. Let him break the wind. Let him take all of the hits. Let everyone beat him up as being the front runner. And what happened last week, I don't know if it was pressure, whatever it may be, but 3 interceptions by the same Russell Wilson. So maybe some of this can get to him in that prime position, in that pole position. But if you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's just being Patrick Mahomes, and he's right there. So what happens now is to your argument a couple of days ago. What if Russell Wilson doesn't hit that magical number, that round 50 touchdown? What if he falls short? Anywhere in the 40s, even 49, just doesn't have the same amount of luster as 50 touchdowns. That's a seal of approval once you get 50 touchdowns. So if Patrick Mahomes hovers around and gets in the 40s with Russell Wilson, now we start to get into details of interceptions. Russell Wilson has more interceptions, 6, than Patrick Mahomes with 1. Now you start to get into which team is playing better. The defense in Kansas City is better than the defense in Seattle. All of a sudden, you just enter into a position where you're going to say, excuse me, Russell Wilson, as you always start hot, finish a little lukewarm. Who's that? The former MVP? Oh, it's his MVP this year.
I like that take. I like that take. The only problem I have with it is Russell Wilson's on pace to get 59 touchdowns. So it's a big if for Russell not to get 50, but I like everything else you said. Here's my problem, Marcellus. I don't think Patrick Mahomes will win MVP this season, but it's not because Patrick Mahomes isn't great. It's the LeBron James factor. We've seen it before. Did you grow up playing Super Mario Brothers?
A little bit. The first one, only the first one.
I respect
the basic one.
I grew up playing that, but I also played another racing game. It's called Crash Bandicoot Team Racing, right? And I don't think you're racing some little bandicoot. I don't know what a bandicoot is.
Oh,
maybe it's
bandicoot.
An animal. But what it is it's a racing game, and you can race against your previous self. So while you're racing against all the other opponents, you see the ghost of your previous self racing based on how fast you've run the lap before.
You already died?
You can see another level. And so another level. So what I say is this. Patrick Mahomes isn't just competing against everybody else. He's also competing against his previous self.
Okay.
Even if he beats some of the other people, did he beat himself in 2018? Did Patrick Mahomes get to 50 touchdowns? Because if Patrick Mahomes loses to his previous self, it's still not going to be as impressive. Again, LeBron James, everybody knows he probably should have won 5 MVPs in a row instead of taking that year off where I believe Derrick Rose got it. But LeBron James wasn't that impressive compared to LeBron James. Compared to the field, he still was. Let me end my first lap with this. While Patrick Mahomes' defensive numbers are good. What do I mean by defensive? He's only thrown 1 interception. That's a defensive statistic.
That's helping.
This world is predicated about offense, glitz, glamour, entertain my eyes. I don't care if James Harden is the worst player in the league. Did you see he dropped 50 last night? I don't care if Trae Young has the worst defensive efficiency rating. Did you see he can shoot from the logo? We don't care about what you do defensively. We only care about points. Why do I say that? Patrick Mahomes' 1 interception is cool, but it really don't mean all that much if he doesn't get to 50 touchdowns.
Really?
Meaning, if Russell Wilson gets his 59 touchdowns, but 12 interceptions, we're not going to be like, yeah, but Russ threw 12 interceptions. We're going to be like, did you see his 59 touchdowns? Whereas Patrick Mahomes, if he throws for 42 touchdowns but 2 picks, oh, he only threw 2 picks. Great. But what about the only 42 touchdowns? Like, we don't sit here and laud the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year like we laud the NBA's Offensive Player of the Year, because offense always sells more than defense. That might be the issue Patrick Mahomes runs into.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing about that. What if he doesn't get to 50? You say he's on pace to 59. However, the final 8 games, Russell Wilson, the last 4 seasons, only averaged 15 passing touchdowns. Like I said, he starts hot ends lukewarm. If he does that again, he's going to be in the 40s. He's going to be 41, 40s. Now you're in the Patrick Mahomes territory, where we're going to have to carve into those details and get into that. Who is Patrick Mahomes this year through 8 games? Has a higher completion percentage, fewer interceptions, more rushing yards, and just as many rushing touchdowns as his MVP self. So the ghost of whatever game you were playing, he's as good as the ghost, if not better than the ghost, as he will see himself in this same conversation. Russell Wilson is also fighting against himself, and he's fighting against years past where he was a front runner or in the conversation. Let's go back to 2015. Why did he lose? He lost to Cam Newton. The guy you said, he wasn't prolific throwing the ball. 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions.
Had the 10 rushing touchdowns, I would say, is why Russ lost.
I could give you that, but also 15-1.
That's true.
Hello?
Russ went 10-6, I think. That's real. That's real.
Yeah, so if Russell slows down a little bit, and they got to play Arizona again in that division they already lost to, and he had the 3 interceptions against the Rams twice. You look at the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs, I don't know where the loss is going to come from. Only in that locker room. It's one of those teams that's like they can lose to themselves as they lost to the Raiders, but they won't necessarily lose to the opponent. The Mahomes team will have a better record. Mahomes may have comparable, if not better, numbers. How does he lose that MVP?
Mahomes' team will likely have a better record, but I don't think Mahomes will have better numbers as far as how we rank numbers. What I mean by that is this. Todd, let's break this down for a second. We don't weigh interceptions the same we rate touchdowns. We don't do that. Let me give you all this analogy. I have to go back to basketball. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year this past year, if I'm not mistaken. We don't really talk about him in the same breath we talk about James Harden, who many consider the best offensive scorer in the NBA, because we just don't care that much. Now, it's not to say defense isn't as important as offense. It's not to say interceptions aren't as important as touchdowns. Ask anybody in the world. Interceptions are as important, because look at Carson Wentz. He got 17 touchdowns, but he got a whole lot of picks. We don't weigh those the same. So even if Patrick Mahomes only has 1 touchdown, one interception, the rest of the season, if he only has 42 touchdowns, bro, it's not going to matter all that much. I'll give you my last example with this. Second best quarterback, third best quarterback in Packers history, Brett Favre. We can all kind of say, you might go Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Bart Starr, whatever you want to say. Brett Favre. But Brett Favre, most interceptions in the NFL history. Isn't Brett Favre the same guy? He made the Pro Bowl, Marcellus, 7 times when throwing over 15 interceptions. He made the Pro Bowl 3 times throwing over 20 interceptions. So what that tell me? He had a lot of bad, but we don't care about bad when you see good. If Russell Wilson has a lot of good, which he's on pace to have, I don't think Mahomes has a chance.
Yeah, but that's only when you're by yourself. When you're a front runner or there's no real competition, then all of a sudden we just let you go. Even your issues we let go because it's like we're staring at you only, focused on you. But when there's someone to compare to, that's when it's time to start splitting them hairs, dude. And we're going to look at it like, he has a cleaner resume with a better team. To me, that's going to be a difficult argument. Weirdly enough, I think that the real tailwind for Russell Wilson is the fact that he's never received a vote. Someone is sitting there eager to just vote for him. All they need for Russell to do is to finish off the back half of the season like he did the front half. Coming up, the Packers didn't get Aaron Rodgers any help before yesterday's trade deadline. I'm over here, too. We'll tell you if Green Bay made a big mistake. Next, Speak for Yourself had to peek at me one more time. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Packers did not make a move before yesterday's trade deadline to get Aaron Rodgers more help at wide receiver. There were reports that they were linked to Texans receiver Will Fuller. Fast dude. Head coach Matt LaFleur disputed a report that there was a disagreement with the front office to make a deal, saying, quote, "We're on the same page, and there's no truth to that." Yeah. So, Acho, did the Packers make a mistake not getting Rodgers help at the deadline?
Big bro, they made a huge mistake, and I'm wondering how long they're going to keep making it. That's what this conversation frustrates me because I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers. Why'd you feel bad for a man that has millions of dollars? I don't know. It's the soft heart in me.
The same guy that was losing musical chairs on purpose, huh? That's you. Big heart.
Me.
You got a big heart.
I just don't get what they are thinking. The Packers are really good with Aaron Rodgers, but what we know in the NFL is there is a gigantic gap between really good and great. We've seen that with the Packers over the course of time. 2019 NFC Championship. They trailed 27-0 at halftime, lost later on in the game 34-7. 2016 NFC Championship, the second time the Packers were in it most recently, trailed again 24-0 at halftime. Later, we're down 37-7. There is a gigantic gap between the Packers being really good and great teams. Buccaneers, lost 38-10, if I remember correctly. Yes, 38-10. Packers are really good. The Bucs in that game were great. The Packers are very, very good. I just don't get why they won't do what is necessary for them to become great. It is clear, abundantly clear, that in the draft, Marcellus, they were planning for the future. Trade up, first-round pick, you get a quarterback. The second-round pick, you get a running back. But then you realize during the course of the season, wait a second.
Wait a minute.
We're preparing for our future, but our present is still great. Go all in on the present. My problem with the Packers, you got 1 foot in the present, 1 foot in the future, and that's going to cost you having no hands on the Lombardi.
Interesting. That's what they're doing. You're wrong. What they're doing is realizing with people who know the game or those who read into the deeper analytics of the game, they realize that receivers are not what gets you over the hump. Like, Lombardi is not hoisted because of your receiver group. You got to look at it from that perspective, first and foremost. Why do they fail in the postseason? Aaron Rodgers is 11-8 in the postseason. Why do they fail? It's not because of Aaron Rodgers, not because of the wide receiver group. It's because they give up too many points on the defensive side. I told you before, they give up an average of 36 points a game in those 8 losses. So now they're looking around and saying, I know that the outcry is to get another receiver. If you get another receiver, we got something here. But that's not going to close the gap between where they were last year and where they want to be this year. One, the gap may have closed just because San Francisco's not going to be their opponent, it looks like, with all the injuries they're dealing with. So who will be that opponent? Outside of the huge loss that they had this year to Tampa Bay, they probably don't look at anyone with full fear or deep respect. Look at this team when they talk about receivers. Let's pull up the full screen to just show you what I'm talking about. Receivers out there. These are the receivers since 2010, so your era, Acho, you happy? They have the most receiving yards. There are 14 names on here, and I went from the top down. Now, a lot of these guys are not obviously available for trade or draft, but still, of 14 of the top receivers, your era, only 2 are Super Bowl winners, Golden Tate and Emmanuel Sanders. Interesting. If you take that away, you realize who's going to save us? There's no saviors. Like in life, there are no saviors out there. You got to do it for yourself. And I like how they came out. Devontae Adams said, look, I'm playing football, man. And even Aaron Rodgers said, that is outside my pay grade. That is something that they focus on. I focus in on my job, which is playing the best quarterback. There's no savior, especially on the receiving end.
I would say this. I would say that the best defense at times can be a good offense.
Oh, well, you know that.
Best defense can be a good offense.
I give you that.
The Packers' offense in the last 3 weeks or last 2 weeks since their last couple games, struggling. It's on a decline. Why would I say the best defense is a good offense? Because Aaron Rodgers threw 3 touchdowns, no interceptions this past week, but they still lost. How in the heck did they lose? They only had 2 offensive possessions in the first half. How in the heck did they lose? The Minnesota Vikings, they scored every possession, 4 possessions straight. If the Packers had better offense, if you're not going to fix the defense, which obviously you should, that's what's abundantly clear, let's make that clear, fix the defense. But if you're not going to do that, you have to do something with the offense. You have to help out Aaron Rodgers. I just don't get, Marcellus, if you're the Packers GM, if you're the head coach, Matt LaFleur, you're looking at this roster and you're saying, wow, we're not as good as the Bucs. Last year, we saw the Niners. We weren't near as good as them. The last time we were in a NFC Championship game, we weren't near as good as our opponent. And we don't make any changes. Like, are you just hoping that by osmosis and sharing the same space with other greats, you'll get greater? I just don't get it. Like, I genuinely wonder, and I'm asking you, if you know you're not as good as some other teams and you're not doing anything to get better, how do you anticipate beating them later?
Well, sometimes you could just get better at what you're doing. You know, as coaches always say, man, the deeper you're into our playbook and know what we do, the better the chances we have. Our opponents don't matter in that respect. So maybe there was an internal conversation that, hey, we didn't play up to our optimal abilities. And when you don't play up to that, you think there's room for improvement inside the locker room rather than getting someone else from the outside. They addressed it in the draft. Now, I don't like their draft that much. One, Jordan Love first round, and some people were saying that he can't even play the position right now. He is a project with a capital P. But Aaron Jones, again, injured, probably his 3rd straight week with the calf injury. No Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon, who they drafted this year. So I think they were trying to shore up their running game. Aaron Rodgers is going to be our quarterback. No matter if it's drafting Jordan Love or not, we know that you're here for the next 2 years. Why get a receiver in that situation when it's not helped any team get over the hump in terms of winning the Super Bowl championship? Coming up, the Jets are in line for their first pick in the draft, but their GM is backing Sam Darnold. Yes. We'll tell you if we believe him or not. Next, speak for yourself, partner.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Jets are currently the only team without a win and are in line to have the first pick in the draft. It looks like that'll be Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence, but New York still has Sam Darnold. Yesterday, the Jets general manager Joe Douglas said he still sees Darnold in the long-term plans, saying, quote, "I think you see the flashes of what he can be, and they're really special. I'm very excited about Sam. Yes. I have no problem saying that. He is our best quarterback and our quarterback of the future." Close quote. So, Marcellus, I know how I feel about this, but you buying this one from Jets general manager Joe Douglas that Sam Darnold is a quarterback of the future?
Yeah, I'm buying it. Kind of in the same spirit that you saying it. Kind of like, I don't know about that. Silence is golden when you talk about support in these situations. Take it from me, the co-host killer. If I came up here and start talking about, you know what, man, Wacho's amazing. My favorite co-host ever. We're going to work together for years, buddy. You better watch your back. It's a wrap there. That voted dread of confidence, it's like a verbal death certificate. It always rings true that, why'd you say it? Why'd you put it out there like that? He's our best quarterback and our quarterback for the future. But I believe in Sam Darnold. You know why I believe in Sam Darnold? Because I don't believe in the Jets this year. So I'm going to take this off the books. And I'm going to look at Sam Darnold and his progression. We were talking earlier about Daniel Jones. We were talking about a sophomore slump in situations. I don't know about that. When it comes to looking at my man Sam Darnold, higher completion percentage, better touchdown to interception ratio, more passing yards per game, higher passer rating. And then he runs into this, whatever you want to call it, in New York this season. And Adam Gase may not be long for this team, but Sam Darnold needs to be. Because if you really want to look at it, you're really going to draft Trevor Lawrence because you're going to have the worst record and the top pick? Or are you going to dress up Sam Darnold and get pieces for him? You could probably get 3 first-rounders for Trevor Lawrence if you tell any other team, I got him for you. But in the same respect, what's the gap between Trevor Lawrence and Sam Darnold if they're properly dressed up? Trevor Lawrence coming here with this team, or a different team with the 3 first-rounders and the extras, and Sam Darnold in that position. I take that with Sam Darnold.
Big bro, I'm not buying that Sam Darnold's a quarterback of the future, but I take it like this. If you are a prosecutor, one of your first orders of business to prove that someone is guilty of something is you go for character defamation. If I can prove that Marcellus Wiley lied yesterday, then I can insinuate that he's lying right now. Yep. Joe Douglas didn't lie yesterday. He lied in the same sentence. He said Adam Gase, the head coach, is also in their plans for the future. Yeah. And I know that is a the boldest face lie. Yeah. So if Joe Douglas is going to sit there at the witness stand, and say that Adam Gase is our quarterback of the future, and I know he's lying about that, then why in the world would I believe him when he says that Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the future? The other reason I'm very curious of this, Marcellus, is you told me that everybody was on the block, the trading block. Jamal Adams, perennial All-Pro, everybody saying he has the potential to be a future Hall of Famer. Y'all dealt him. Le'Veon Bell, All-Pro, was the best running back in the league at the point in time he came to the Jets. Y'all cut him. So if you can cut both them, cut a dude and trade a dude, superstars, why would I believe that you're committed to Sam Darnold? And very lastly, I look at it, 2020, the Jets are last in scoring offense, last in total offense, last in passing offense. And it's not Sam Darnold's fault at all, by any means. Not saying that.
Thank you.
I just don't know how they would be committed if they've never been committed.
Well, you got to look at Joe Douglas in this situation. And what's he going to do? Is he going to clean house again and then say, let's go start over again? Not great for your own job security if you're him. It's almost like he's in that battle, and it's not about trusting who you choose. Do I get Trevor Lawrence or not? It's about trusting yourself to choose. Jerry Jones finds himself in the same position where I can't even trust myself to choose the right quarterback. I got to hold on to Dak. I got to cling on to Dak.
Is that marital advice, Marcellus? Is that marital advice you're giving?
You married yet? How about that? Stay on that side of the fence, big dog. The grass is greener. Coming up when we come back, Uncle Jimmy has his own point of view on Patrick Mahomes. Hey, you better chill, dog. MVP chances. That's next. I'm trying to win tonight. Speak for yourself. Get out of my house. Before we go, Uncle Jimmy joins us. I'm hearing you have your own opinion on the Patrick Mahomes MVP debate. The floor is yours, sir.
Yo, Acho.
What up,
You do understand that I am the Patrick Mahomes of this show. Meaning that I'm the reigning MVP of this show, right?
Okay. Oh, Lamar.
You do understand that last year, this time, me and Patrick Mahomes took struggling franchises, put them on our backs, took them to the Super Bowl. Not only did we go to the Super Bowl, we won the Super Bowl. And not only did we win the Super Bowl, we won the MVP. I had the pleasure of receiving my MVP from the lovely cousin Sal and Rachel Burnett, all right? I'm telling you, I know something about the MVP.
Yeah.
Acho,
What up?
you are the Lamar Jackson of this show. You are the favorite MVP of this show. But right about now, man, you starting to play just like Lamar. You starting to come out here and your playoffs are starting to hurt. Hey, man, you know what? I know you thought you was going to have some help, but the Patriots also thought they was going to have help. But that's what y'all get for fooling with Cam Newton, a.k.a. Marcellus Wiley.
I need to do my hair different.
That's what y'all get. Okay?